What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're back and we're better than ever. And tired. We're not gonna rant on or do any weekly updates. I know that I was saying I went to Miami and I'm back now, but we're gonna save that for a different episode because I have some really crazy stories and funny stories that I want to get to. But this week's episode, we have a really interesting guest, and we had a really great conversation with her, so we want to just get straight into that.
Our guest kind of has to do with the topic surrounding just career and career coaching and entrepreneurialism and all of that. And it's something that I think that a lot of you will appreciate. We had honestly, after I had that conversation with her, we were like, wow, why, I wish I knew this when I was trying to go find a job. But even after that stage, she has just so much good advice. And I
was gonna say, it's not fluffy theoretical stuff.
No.
She actually gives tips and
actionable tips on what to do,
and not only careers, on just resumes, branding yourself, all that shit. We're not gonna get too much into it because we'll let her speak for herself. So without further ado, hope you guys enjoy.
So thank you for coming on. We don't really like to do a huge introduction when guests come on because we want you to speak for yourself and just tell us who you are. So we came across your profile and we just felt like it really resonates just with what our podcast is all about, and just adulting and trying to see where you fit with your career goals and all of that. And we wanted to dive more deep into that. We kind of always touch on that stuff here and there, but we thought you'd be the perfect person to dive into that topic with. So just give us a brief intro about who you are, how you got to being a coach, and specifically I saw in your bio you went from HR, being in HR to being a coach. So you can touch on that because that's
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So for everyone listening, I'm Jazmine Reed-Clark. I'm a career coach, content creator, writer, and I'm one of those accidental entrepreneurs, which I didn't realize there's so many of us, and most people kind of fall into things. But I was working in human resources, recruiting, people operations for about 5 or 6 years previous to the pandemic. The pandemic hits. I was at a new role that I've totally scrubbed from my LinkedIn. So there's no tea to find, but I was on my 60 days. I was I don't know what the hell is going to happen with this pandemic. And I'm really scared. And I don't want to deal with this bullshit anymore. So I actually quit, and I had no backup plan. I really was okay, I'll just find another corporate job, or thankfully I want to address my privilege. I'm in a dual income, but just through the years I've been saving an emergency fund. So I was okay, I have rainy day money. Long story short, all of my friends kept coming to me because they wanted HR guidance, and because I was a writer, they're can you do my resume? Okay, cool. Hey, can you help me with a negotiation? Because I remember you got a raise once. How did you do that? And before I knew it, everyone just kept referring their friends, and it happened really organically. But I would say at one point, my husband looked at me, he's you just have to start charging people. But because it was my friends, I was
you wouldn't think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was Jazz, this is taking up all your time. And it snowballed. And now from there, it's one of those stories where I'm so grateful for the way everything unfolded. And now I really focus on career coaching. Typically people come to me when they are looking to quit their job, but I also get people who come to me because they're I want to switch industries, or I had a client recently who just wanted to move to New York City and she needed that accountability buddy.
Yeah.
So I get a ton of people, and now I'm getting my Enneagram certification so that I can help to weave that into my coaching program.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a bit more about that. And also I saw on your profile resume tips, cover letter tips, and that's so I feel overlooked when people are in their 20s or even just starting to get a job in general. It's so overwhelming. I just graduated university, right? I'm in my post-grad, but I'm constantly kind of touching up my resume. And when I look online, there's millions of different examples and things to do. And I'm like, okay, well, which one's right? Because I want to use keywords, but also I don't want to put too much, right? So I feel like, I feel like this topic, like a lot of people resonate with, because even if you're not 20, even if you're whatever, 40, 50, however old you are, like you can never get too much advice when it comes to like your career.
Oh, completely. And it's interesting because it's almost like social media. It keeps changing. Like I recently had someone who said, what's something new you're seeing? And I would say before the pandemic, it was really common to see 2-page resumes. And now I really have seen a huge comeback in 1-page resumes. So it's also just, it's hard to keep up with, even as a freelance recruiter myself. So I hear you. It's definitely a game.
Also, like before we get, because the Enneagram thing really interests us, but before we get to that, I just want to point out, I find it so like different and interesting that you're kind of like a freelance recruiter, I guess. I don't know if that's the right term. I just find that so interesting because I don't know if I've ever come across that before, and it's weird because we're from Toronto, as I said, but there's this like agency in Ontario. I think it's like a provincial thing. I don't know what it is, but they're recruiters, and they kind of do what you're kind of doing, but they're like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to get at, but I just think that it's like so cool because I use those people, and it was very corporate, and with you I feel like it's definitely more personable, and it's probably so much better to go through someone who's freelance
because you're actually building like a relation. It's like a personal relationship where you care, right?
Yeah.
You don't even understand. You hit the nail on the head, because I'll have people where, okay, maybe it's not working with this client, but I'm like, okay, but I know someone else who's hiring. So it really is in my best interest to stay on top of my P's and Q's and give them a great customer experience, even as a freelance recruiter.
And how do you, like, I don't know if you're allowed to, if you can speak on this, but like, how do you like find the people that are hiring? Do your clients kind of tell you where they want to go and what jobs they want? You find it for them? Like you basically do all the work that nobody really wants to do when they're trying to look for a job.
Yeah. Yes. And to answer your question, it's all referral based. Like, I've had the companies come to me because maybe I like the one that I'm at now. I used to be an intern there, and they were like, hey, like we can't bring somebody on full time, but could we hire you as a freelancer? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then somebody else, I actually had to turn someone away recently because they're like, hey, my friend said you do freelance recruiting. So it's really just been word of mouth, which just goes down to, I mean, obviously that's the name of the game when you're freelancing, but that goes into, if I have any regrets, it's treating a job like, even if I hated it, when I was like 22, I was a shitty employee, and just your reputation follows you. And it's so hard sometimes to outlive or outwork, a bad experience. So
that's some good advice.
It's a good learning lesson I've had to learn many times over.
Nice. Okay. Well, sorry, we kind of got off track there for a sec, but I found that so interesting. Okay. So I want to talk about the Enneagrams, the Enneagram coaching thing. What exactly, firstly, does it mean to be an Enneagram coach? What does it entail? Can you give us a little brief synopsis about that?
Totally. Because when I was first getting into the Enneagram, which for those who don't know, it's like a personality assessment tool. It's kind of like Myers-Briggs, but I think it's like, it goes so much deeper, and it's like your inner child wounds and like, what are you motivated by? What are your core fears?
Interesting.
Yeah. And you get like a whole number. And when I first got into it, I was like, okay. And then I just happened to get more into it because at work, if I had to do like a leadership development course at work, or if we were doing a team bonding event, this thing called the Enneagram kept coming up. Finally, I just dove right into it. I got it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I go on YouTube, and then that's when I found out about the world of Enneagram coaches. I want to be clear and not say it's like therapy, because understandably therapists would come for my throat and be like, we are not the same. I'm cool. But an Enneagram coach really just takes the philosophy of looking at your core motivations and your core values and seeing how does that manifest itself? And also we do a lot of shadow work. So I'm completing my certification program. By the time this goes up, I will be completely certified. But when I say that the Enneagram comes up all the time in career coaching, it was just a really natural next step to go ahead and get certified.
Okay.
And I think that's so interesting to know, like, why you are the way you are at work, or just in general. Like, I remember, so we were reading through one of your posts, and there's 4 types or 5 types, or there 5? Nine types. Okay, there's 9 types.
Yeah.
And we're reading through it, and me and Sam were kind of just saying, like, oh, which one are we? So we want to tell you a little bit about what we thought we were, and then maybe you can like explain more about that prototype. Okay, so we have it here.
Prototype. Okay.
Prototype.
Let me see. Sorry, I only have mine.
Oh, I think I was number 2. The one where you like want to be likable. And then your fear, I forgot what the fear was. So, not being likable or something.
Yeah. So like a 2, they love, their biggest motivation is to be loved or liked. And then their biggest fear is being unloved or not wanted. So
yes,
that makes total sense. And we'll pick on you first. So with a 2 at work, a lot of the times you could be the person who's always raising your hand, going the extra mile. But where there's some shadow work is if you're not being recognized, maybe you harbor a lot of resentment, or you have a lot of pride. And you might be the girl who, like looks like, oh, you can count on her for anything. But deep down, you're like, what the hell? Why is nobody giving me my props, my kudos? And that's
that's literally me. I like
the other day.
So I was in, I don't want to like talk too much about it, but I was in like an internship program and or an internship, and I found that like when I did something really, really good, I was kind of like looking for that good job, Fran, or like here's a gold star, and I was kind of like, where's my fucking gold star? You know what I mean? Like I kind of wanted that encouragement. And I feel like millennials, or like just Gen Z, like this generation needs like that gold star in order to be like, okay, I'm on the right track. My boss loves me. I'm liked by my coworkers. I can now do good. Because if I'm in an environment where like no one likes me, or like I feel like I'm kind of like I don't want to say a loser, but like just no friends at work, I won't perform as good, right? That's even in school too, right? So that makes total sense.
Yeah, and you could be like a 2-wing 3, because I'm a 3 at like, I think I have balanced wings, but like a 3-wing 2. And it's just the same thing. Like I have to have reward and recognition at work. I'm very like goal oriented. So if I'm not working towards something, it's not even so much like, because I just want that prize. Like you said, like, I just want that gold star. So we're totally aligned. What about you? What's your number?
Okay. I screenshotted I think I'm a mix of type 1, which is the primary motivation for an Enneagram 1 is to be perfect or good, and their primary fear is to be bad or morally corrupt. That's like so me. But then also a little bit of type 3, where my primary motivation is to be successful and my primary fear is to be unworthy. Like that's 100% me. I get like anxiety or stress when I feel like I might fuck something up. Like it's actually bad. Like, and even if I'm just starting a new job, I've been like for my current job, I've been there for a month and I'm doing stuff and I'm like, no, this needs to be perfect. I need to do everything they ask me to by this time. I cannot say that, oh, I might not make this deadline. Like I'm like very much like that. But anyways, that's what I think I am.
Oh, and totally aligned. And it's so funny because if we like dug deeper, I'm curious, like I almost feel like maybe it's more of a 3, because 3s and 1s can get mistyped a lot.
Okay.
But with 3s, when you're stressed, we typically go into, I mean, they say like in stress, you go to a 9, but what that really means is you withdraw. And are you like the person who, okay, if you're not going to do a bomb ass job, you probably just like won't even touch it.
Yeah, like there's so many things in my life, like not even just with work or like career, but I'm literally looking at my board right now of all the things that I want to do. And some of them I haven't continued because I'm like, I'm not going to do it perfectly. So I want to wait until I can do it 100%. Like I have all these little side hustles I want to do, but I'm not going to start it until I can do it perfectly, you know?
Okay. And then I love you because we are all 3 peas in a pod. And one person I love who's also a 3 is Jenna Kutcher, and she hosts the podcast The Gold Digger.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, a lot of the like girl power podcasts, some of them can be fluffy, but I do think hers has a ton of substance, and I completely recommend it to anyone listening who does have a side hustle or wants to start one. But I live by this quote I learned on her podcast. She didn't invent it, but it's done is better than perfect, because like right now I'm like revamping my website. And so it's under construction, and my husband's like, it's been under construction for 2 weeks. And I'm like, I know, but I want to tweak this and I want to get like the perfect Pantone. And I was working on it this weekend and I'm like, well, I want to like create this freebie. eventually I just had to be like, done is better than perfect. So it's like, Jazmine, it needs to get up. So I'm finishing it this week. But I totally am with you. And when I feel like I'm not going to do a good job, or that I feel like I'm not going to impress anyone.
Yes,
I
that's
totally like veg out.
That's it. Yeah.
That's, and that even like, sorry, I don't mean to like harp on this, but even when it comes to the podcast, right? Like this is something that like we started just during the pandemic as something for fun because we both weren't working at the time, blah, blah, blah. Now that we see like potential of where podcasts can go, right? But the thing is, we don't have 100% of our time into the podcast. And sometimes I get caught up in like, oh my God, like I need to put all my time into this because who knows what people are thinking about us half-assing this or that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I know it way too well because I wear way too many hats. And so
yes,
I have a few contracts ending on October 1st, like writing contracts, because it got to the point that I wanted everyone to like me, all of my clients, and then my work was suffering. So no, to say I understand it is an understatement. I'm in that season right now.
I feel better now.
Yeah.
You're totally fine.
Okay. The next point I want to touch upon that a lot of your feed kind of touched upon, well, here and there, is entrepreneurship. So that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And like, I don't know about Fran, but me personally, I feel like I have more of an entrepreneurial spirit. And what that means to me is that I don't know if this is right, but this is just what it means to me, is that I want to have my hands in a lot of things at once. And if you have a 9-to-5 job, or in my case, a 10-to-6 job, it's almost impossible for me to have my hands in all those things at once. And it's like my body's like craving it, and it's like forcing it against the wall because I physically don't have enough time. And I guess what I want to ask is like, do you think that there's distinguishing factors between people who are more entrepreneurial and people who are meant for, you know, the corporate, climbing the corporate ladder type of thing?
When I say I think about this almost every day, it's not, and I'll have clients who are like, oh, should I quit my job and go start my own thing? For some of them, I'm like, yeah, you can do that. Others, I'm like, I will never tell a person don't do something, because only I think you need to have that agency.
Right.
But there are some people where I'm like, well, I don't think that's a great idea. Let's put a plan together. So yes, I think I once heard it described, if you have that itch for something and it's like always in the back of your mind, but we need this. Like, I know for my podcast, Office Politics, because I said, you know, I listen to a lot of like the girl power podcasts, and while some are really great and full of substance and full of actionable advice, which I love, a lot of it can be a little bit like, okay, I feel like you're recycling the same advice over and over. I felt like there wasn't really a podcast about office life, but about like the bullshit. So that's where I kept thinking about it. And then finally, it's a very long story short, but that's when I came up with Office Politics. And I think that's part of that entrepreneurial spirit, or something I did years ago is I started an Etsy shop because I wanted,
nice.
I wanted a water bottle that just said Drake's Tears. And this is like before they were a thing, okay? And I was like, yeah, so to find my own, I had to make my own, and I had to get, I think, 200 or 100 minimum purchase. I was like, okay, fuck it. Like, I'm going to buy this because I want it, but then I'll just sell it. And they sold out within a week on Etsy. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. And then people started doing copycats. So I think that's like that spirit of, you're like, I'm not going to stop until this is figured out. And then some of my clients where, like, I can think of one person specifically, I think they like the idea of saying they're an entrepreneur, but when I ask about that, they like the idea of flexibility. But when I ask about that business plan, your dream client, your dream feed, what you're doing, your mission, things that should really be lighting you up and fueling you when you're working for free, because a lot of what you're doing is free labor, especially the first year.
Yeah.
She didn't have those answers. And I'm like, I think you want to be able to say you do your own thing, and that's okay. Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur.
I think that's like my thing is I rather climb the corporate ladder. I think I like my dream is to become like CEO of like a marketing firm, maybe my own one day, or like a different company like Nike. I'm just manifesting it right now. But that's like my thing. Like I want to be like marketing. Okay, I'm sweeping floors and now I'm here and
Yes.
like growing every year. Which I feel like, I don't know, that's obviously not entrepreneurship, but
it's not like,
but I just think that it's not bad not wanting to be an entrepreneur as well. But I think like we had a point here on social media. I think that some people really like push, like if you're not getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning and going to the gym and writing 10 books, like it's like you're not doing enough. It's like, dude, I'm in school, chill. Like
it's almost like a fad, or like they glorify this, or not glorify, but they like, it's like misleading entrepreneurship. Like I don't know how to.
Oh,
you know?
no, it's hustle culture and it's
bullshit. Yes, that's what it is.
Yes. And I have drank that Kool-Aid. I have had to spit it out. And I am literally here to say it's on the other end of hustle culture is a mental breakdown. And I've been there, and I've had to take time off. And interestingly enough, I was on a walk with my husband yesterday or maybe 2 nights ago. And I was like, I'm starting to see more of this conversation, but I'll bring it to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that, back when it was more common for a woman to stay at home and for a man to go into the office, it was like a woman wasn't just like sitting on her behind. It was like she still had a full day of work. And I think we forget that work is not always like an ass in a chair. But when you are walking your dog, cleaning the house, going to school, doing research, I think we forget that we do so much more than 40 hours in a week, and we don't have any grace for ourselves. And what you said, exactly, like not everyone needs to want to start their own business. If anything, I'm like, if you can be a normal, it's like, to me, I'm like, if you can be a normal person and just want to climb, like that is, I am so envious. So it's,
And I love that you said that, because I feel that way. I think last week I made myself like actually sick. Like I don't have COVID or anything. I got tested and I'm fine, but I actually thought I had COVID. And then I realized that my job right now, like my 9 to 5 is kind of like, it's a lot, right? And I like it, but it's a lot. And then there's all of these other things I want to do after. And I don't think of it as work, like you just said. And then by the end of the week, the weekend came and I'm like, I think I'm sick. Like I feel just like foggy and weird, and nobody talks about or post TikToks about, well, I mean, at least I don't see them, of like people having these like mental breakdowns or getting physically sick because of all this work that they're trying to do. You know what I mean? Like we're all people who want to be entrepreneurs are trying to do it, but it's hard. And I just wish more people would talk about that, I guess.
Oh, completely. In fact, there's a lot of connections between like mental health and your gut. So and I have a lot of gut issues, and the second I'm like extra stressed, I get
my IBS access.
Yeah, same. IBS too. IBS.
Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. We all have. I mean, I'm kidding. Not all of us have IBS, but no, like that is when I can really. And that's scary, because you can almost psych not that I think you should, but sometimes mind over matter. Okay. But like when you are physically sick, it is scary. And I'm telling people it's not healthy. Like I said, I've been on the other end of it. Stay away.
And I guess to branch off of that, we kind of want to touch on like the mental struggle, or just struggle in general, about being stuck in a career path or a career that you aren't happy with, and like how toxic workplaces and toxic quote unquote industries can come into play. And I'll give you like a little example, because if you guys don't mind me giving an example, because I've been wanting to talk about this on the podcast, but I couldn't really, because I was working at this place at that time. But long story short, I went to school for like development, urban planning, that type of thing. Like I always thought I would get into like construction. I would be this like badass woman in construction industry, like this and that development. And it was almost like I was psyching myself out, because everyone was like, oh, that's really sick, you're a girl and you're gonna do that, like blah blah blah. So I was like, yeah, whatever. So I started working. It was hard for me to find a job, and then I finally found a job in like commercial real estate development. And long story short, it was just not that the people were toxic, and I don't know how to explain it. Maybe you can touch more about it, but it was almost like the industry was toxic for me. Like it was just very like male dominated. A lot of the women were in admin positions, and I was like, I did not go to school for 6, not that it's anything wrong with it, like I don't want to like bash on that, but it was just toxic for me. And again, made me sick to my stomach. When I woke up every morning, I felt like, anyone can ask my sister, like she literally thought I was going like berserk. It was crazy. And yeah, I guess, I don't know if you can touch on that. I don't know if that really relates to anything, but I just thought it would be relevant.
Does. Like everything from, I think you're touching on themes of imposter syndrome to career wellness, and then being in the wrong industry. I remember, and this goes to show you, really, if you are someone who develops your intuition, I do think intuition's a muscle, and if you work at it regularly, trust it, follow it, hone it. Because for years before I ended up going on my own, I was like, my soul, like something in my soul doesn't sit right with corporate life. Yeah. And everyone was like, oh yeah, you're so dramatic, or oh, it's like it's in your head, or everyone sometimes they're just naysayers, and then sometimes they mean well, but eventually I was like, you know what? Again, the pandemic happened. I'm like, who the hell knows how this whole thing is going to end? So I went on my own, and again, I don't regret not starting sooner because now I have all of this experience.
Yeah.
But follow that intuition, because I don't think, if you have the entrepreneurial spirit, which it sounds like you absolutely do, we just aren't meant to take orders. And that's not because we are combative, mean people. I really pride myself on being easy to work with. But if I don't believe in what I'm pushing, you're going to get like the shittiest output.
100%. I agree. And I just like, and I'm sure you can help people with this, but in that moment when I started actually feeling that way, like what you're saying resonates with me so much, like in my soul, like in my body, I was like, this is not me, and I need a career change, and I manifested it. And now while I'm still in corporate, it's something that I actually like, and I can bring it. It's kind of like transferable into my like personal life, where the other one really wasn't,
I love what you just said. And especially if you are a 3 or if you're entrepreneurial. I had a client, her name is Maya Fleming. In fact, she has her own podcast called The Gentler Podcast. And I love her. And she's got to pay the bills. And she was like, hey, can I hire you? Blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, I think I just want something that like I can go to work and hate, so I can focus on my side hustle. And I'm like, I get that, but I'm like, you're I knew her well enough at this point to know this about her and say it to her face. I'm like, we're both 3s. That's a crock of shit. I know you need to, because you want that recognition at work. So you can't hate your job. And by the end of it, she now was able to move. She moved states, and now she has a job where I'm like, what is it in your business right now? Like, what's a weakness? And we were able to identify a few things. I'm like, okay, let's find a job that's going to give you the tools, the systems, and the experience. And that's what we got her to do. And now she's really, I mean, does she want to retire there? No. But is she like, this is almost like seed money for my side hustle. And I'm getting like almost, a second education on the side. Yeah, I'm with you. You are right on the money with that.
That makes total sense. I'm glad I'm not the only one who like feels that way. But
I think with career change, it's hard too, because there's so many like external factors, like family, friends, or like if you're not going to a job where you went to school for, it's kind of like, well, why the hell did I go to school for 4 years? Like, or why did I do this? Why do that? Or there's always that extra step. Like, I have to get a postgrad. I have to get a master's to do this job, that job. So it's like, there's so many other factors too, that I feel like people are just scared to be like, I don't want to do this anymore, because they've put out so much time, energy, and money. And it's like, what are other people going to say? Especially if it's a job that maybe makes less money, but makes you happier,
that part. And it would be like way too long of an episode. I went to school for journalism and communications. I clearly left to go into HR. There was a part of me that's like, I got to stick it out. I got to stay in marketing journalism. If I were to fast forward like by 10 years, I can say this. It is funny how life will work out. And I use my journalism background. Also I was still using it in HR, but also it's not too late. I remember being 25, like I'm too old to switch careers. And
That's
like now I can
probably
like, yeah. And it's because now I can sit there and laugh and be like, okay, 25 isn't old, but it's
Yeah.
really just don't be afraid to follow it because, and this is what I had to do for myself. I was like, truly, what is the worst that can happen? And I thought of two things. And one was other people's opinions. People are going to be like, LOL. And then I was like, okay. And what are you going to do? And I was like, cry myself to sleep. But I was like, and you are also going to be like, let's put a spin on this. I tried something new. I branched out. I got a new skill. And like, if you want to put a spin on it, you can. And then the other thing I thought, the worst thing that could happen is I don't have a job. And so then I came up with that backup plan. And of course, you know, that conversation of privilege and resources comes in. And yes, I was like, worst comes to worst. If I can't support myself, I can move back home with my family. I realize that's not everyone's reality, but I was like, okay, then try it. And all I can say is now I wish I would have done it sooner. Switching from marketing to HR, I mean, and then it was funny because one of the first jobs I took in HR was an admin type of role. Within a few years, I was making 30 grand more. I'd gotten multiple promotions. So do not think your starting place is your ending place. Unless you want to treat it like that.
And I've heard, like, I've had people say to me so many times, like, you will switch careers so many times when you're 22 to like 50. So don't think that's like set in stone, anything that you need to do. So that's very encouraging to hear.
Oh, completely.
I think I want to end off with some tips for creating like the perfect resume, good resume, because you say you've seen like probably so many resumes over your years, right? And also want to touch upon like your elevator pitch, like how to elevate your elevator pitch. I learned about that and I was so interested. It's like you're literally selling yourself. And when I'm in interviews and people are like, so tell me about yourself, I'm like,
I literally just like freeze.
I'm like, I'm in school, but they don't give a shit that I'm in school. Like, okay, so whereas like millions of other people,
like,
there's so many other things.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so resume tips. Do you here? I'll give you like my top 3.
Top 3 is good.
Yeah, I would say because I was looking at resumes today. Okay, an easy win is if you are applying to be a marketing manager, your resume doesn't need to say software engineer. Like, just go ahead and change it. Make sure it's applicable. Because on average, and there's stats to back this up, but anecdotally, I can confirm, you have about 6 seconds to grab a recruiter's attention. We're going through 300 resumes. We don't have time. So little things like that, where I was looking at, I'm hiring for a graphic designer, and like an engineer applied. I'm like, for what? And like, so I didn't even bother. Like, I was like, click. And I just kept it pushing. And then other things, it's simple, but so many times people have typos. And here's the thing, I am very forgiving with typos. Unfortunately, most hiring managers aren't, because they're like, this is your best. Like,
it's your first impression.
It's a reflection of their work. People
exactly. So have your friend look at it. I know people are afraid of feedback, and that's why you're not showing your friends your resume. You really have to see the bigger picture and know that having it proofed could be the difference between, you know, a $50,000 job and a $30,000 job. And then my third my third best tip is keep it clean. So if you are going to reach out to a recruiter, that's the time to have the really beautiful resume. But when you're applying online, it's going to go to an applicant tracking system, an ATS. So we were talking about keywords. That's what's going to lift it. ATS systems, they're just not sophisticated enough to see like the different fonts and the graphs and the colors. So kind of keep your clean, boring, minimalist one is what you should be putting towards the machine.
Good question. And do you recommend like those fancy, colorful graph? Is that like within certain industries? So if I'm applying to be a marketer, I feel like I'd want to make mine unique because I'm trying to sell myself like as a marketer, but I feel like someone as like an engineer doesn't really need like pink and fruits like on the page. You know what I mean? So I think it's like different. I don't know.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, I think if you're going to do anything creative, definitely. Cause again, I was going through graphic designer resumes today. I'm like, this is your resume? Like, you're a graphic designer. So definitely like marketing, all of that. But with the ATS system, still keep it clean so it can be
Mhm.
read. But when you submit something to the recruiter, definitely feel free to make it pretty. And you're right. The more kind of like, you know, fancy jobs,
Yeah.
I've seen people totally like, they just don't take sometimes the colorful.
Mm.
That's the thing. Stalk who would be your potential manager on LinkedIn.
Mm.
Now, can
Alright.
you know, can you know everything? No, but you can make some assumptions. So I know if I can see, okay, this looks like an agency, everyone seems young and like Gen Z, okay, I can have fun and I can make my resume more quirky.
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to apply to like a 100-year-old consulting firm, it's okay, let's keep it
boring.
Yes.
Okay, that makes
Boring
sense.
like the job. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Really. And then for elevating your elevator pitch. Okay, let me ask you guys this. Who wants to go first?
Not me. I know you're gonna ask
Oh,
already. You
no.
can ask Sam.
I don't even know really what an elevator pitch is. This was Fran's question. What is it? Just like tell me.
So when I learned it, it was like the amount of time from the first floor to the CEO like floor that you have to sell yourself to get a job. If they don't like you, they're sending you back down to the first floor and like they're asking
I
somebody else up.
honestly would literally not know what to say. And you know why? Because when I was first applying to jobs, like career jobs, quote unquote, it was during COVID. And every time I had my note, like what I was going to say in front of me, like near the camera. So I was literally reading.
Oh yeah,
off
now
of
it's not
it.
going to be like that, right? Because going back in person, you can't read off. You need to know
Exactly.
yourself.
Yeah.
But you like to have me on the podcast, you guys have to pitch me and my ass is here. So like you
It's true.
that's the thing. Like I think so much of my coaching is, I swear to God, you have the tools. You just don't even know that they're in there. But to kind of like use you all for an example, I usually say, obviously you'll say your name, but you said like, oh, I'm in school. They know I'm in school, or they don't care that I'm in school. You're totally right. Like, again, like you're already a step ahead. Where people go wrong is they start to ramble and then they lose people's attention. So I try to tell people, if I know there's like the STAR method and whatnot, but here's what I mentally do: your past, present, future, how I got here. So tell me what triggered your interest either in the role or the industry that we're in. Tell me something you've done previously, bring me up to speed, and then tell me how you got here. So if you're like, okay, that's cute.
Oh, can I try it?
work?
I want to try it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try it. Okay. So let's just say I'm going for like a marketing role.
Yeah.
I'll say, can I say I've been playing soccer? Is that like not relevant?
What is that? But
Because it's relevant. I'm gonna say, ever since I was younger, I've been playing soccer and I've been using Nike equipment because I love the brand of Nike. I don't know. And then I would say, I've used like, oh no, I fucked up. See, now I get nervous.
No. Okay.
That was past.
See, like I want to say like I'm incorporating my past of the love for the brand of Nike, and I want to be like part of them making experience for consumers. And then maybe like now, do I say now, or what I've done, right? I can say I've been like a marketing coordinator for a group project, like in school, make it kind of hype it up. And then future, you said? So future.
Or like, so if it's a marketing job, tell me how you got. So actually here, I can already tell you, I already see the theme clicking is teamwork. And you were talking about this love of athletics. So you could say, where did you grow up?
Me in Toronto.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you could say like, hi Jazmine, or okay, so pretend I'm the recruiter and I'm like, okay, hi Fran, great to meet you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And you're like, yes. Yeah, so, I'm from Toronto. Growing up, I was playing soccer and I fell in love with athletic and the equipment. And that's when, and it's through sports that I learned how to communicate and work with a team. And I thought, where can I take this skill set? And that's when I was introduced to marketing, attending XYZ University, where I studied marketing and communications. Since then, I have interned at blah, blah, blah. And I've been able to stay up to date on my favorite sports team. So I would love
what
to.
This is so good. That's like so natural. I'd be like, no, but like it comes with practice, obviously. But no, that's like, that's like a really good outline to tell people, like, past, present, kind of future, and then where you want to be or like where you are now.
Exactly. And like just have it click, because almost the like one tip I'll give some people, I'm like, pretend I'm in second grade and just walk me through. I mean, not literally walk me through your story. That would be we'd be here forever. But it's almost like and think about this too. How do you want to be remembered? Is it like, oh, she's the marketing girl who understands sports? Because that's what I'm going to be writing in my notes. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Fran Toronto loves sports, teamwork. Cool. Okay. That's how I'm going to remember you.
Okay. That's
some of the
so
best
helpful.
tips I've ever gotten ever.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you girls really
Very
do
nice.
have it, because like I said, when I'm not too picky, because I love going on podcasts, but I was like, oh damn, okay, I know what they're about, I know what their demographic is, I know what they want me to talk about. Cool. And to me, it is way harder to pitch someone to come on a podcast than it is to pitch yourself. But that's the other thing too, where I need to figure out a way to, I want to write about this one day, but like gatekeeping, where I hate that this shit is a mystery. Like, I almost hate that I have a job in career coaching, because I don't feel like people are talking about this enough, because it shouldn't be complicated. But
which is why we're so happy you came on. And also thank you for saying that, because like that makes like the whole like validation thing that she was talking about,
that makes us feel good.
That someone else thinks that our little like pitches were good, but that's why we're really happy to have you on, because we talk about this stuff here and there. We talk a lot about just like all of this, what we've been talking about, but it's never been this in depth, like from somebody who's a professional at it. So I think that what you're doing is really good. And I think that, like, do you touch on career coaching specifically on your podcast as well?
Oh yeah, it's to a degree. It's funny that you bring that up, because going back to wanting everything to be perfect. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I'll outline these things, and I just have to keep reminding myself, my podcast can evolve with me.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to introduce more topics, because at first I was like, nobody wants to hear this stuff. And then I started getting feedback of like, hey, can you do another episode where you tell me, because the first one I did was how to deal with a micromanager. And I thought no one would give a shit. And that was one of the first ones that kind of popped off. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Listen, I think that is like a great idea, because like I was saying, like at the beginning of the podcast, when I even worked with like the governmental agency that did this stuff, I remember calling the girl who was kind of dealing with my quote unquote case. And when I initially wanted to switch careers, and I was like emotional, I was so emotional, and I almost wanted to cry to her and be a little bit more personable and like get all these tips and tricks, but it was just, she wasn't budging. She was more like robotic a little bit. I hope they don't listen to this. They probably don't, obviously, but I mean, it was a little bit robotic. It was like, okay, do this, do this, do this. So I think having a podcast, or just like someone like you as an outlet, like obviously for your services, but also just to listen to you speak about it, is like, totally. I think what you're doing is like godsend.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. And that is like, that's all the validation I need, because again, going back to being an entrepreneur, it's because you see a necessity, and I'm like, okay, nobody's talking about the shit that happens behind the scenes. So let me tell you what I've learned. So and thank you guys for having me on. I would be happy to come back anytime.
I want to close it off with you letting us know how people can go about getting your services.
Well, obviously we'll post it on our Instagram so they can click it, but just for people listening, how they can like contact you and reach you,
or what packages or etc. All that.
Definitely. So by the time this comes up, I will have my website up, so you can go to JazmineReed-Clark.com, Jazmine with a Z, and you can find me on Instagram at Jazmine Reed-Clark. And I have a ton of, I do things with the financial diet and career Contessa and cupcakes and cashmere. So if you really just Google my name and type in career tips, you're bound to find something. And my podcast is called Office Politics, and you can stay up with me there too. But yeah, I would love to, I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have.
Perfect. Well, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're so welcome.
Like that was really informative.
No, yeah, that was like one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, one of my favorite episodes. Not gonna lie,
because we've been wanting to talk about this for so long, so it's good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And also, just off the record, you said you're in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, I just found that interesting.
I think it's one hour. We're looking 1 hour earlier or later. Is it earlier?
Yeah. They're an hour behind.
Behind.
Okay. I always wanted to go to Dallas. That's why I was like, oh,
girl, if you come, seriously, if you are here anytime,
I will let you know. 100%.
Seriously, yeah, I will show you around. And thank you guys for having me on. It's really like refreshing to get like all of your questions were it was so easy. And seriously, if you ever want to have me on again,
For
It's
100%.
For
we
part
will.
2, maybe we can get like listener questions. Part 2,
Yes.
that'd be so great.
That's a good
I love that
idea.
idea. I
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll do
yeah.
that. We're going to do that in the near future. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
You're welcome. Stay safe, y'all.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
And we're back. Thank you so much to Jazmine for taking the time and coming on. As you could probably tell, we were in a different location. It was because there was like some tornado shit going on outside, so we couldn't come into the studio, and Fran was too afraid to drive. So, anyways, we had to record from home, but still, it was really good having her on. So thank you to her, and make sure you check out her social media, and her website should also be up and running by the time this comes out. So yeah, we do want to end off with just some fun shit, just some like pop culture shit that happened this week.
So I don't like really keep up with the Met Gala or like watch it. I just look at the outfits after because I think some of them are like really crazy.
The Met Gala, there's nothing to watch.
Don't you watch them like go on the red carpet?
No, but it's not like an award show.
So what they do? Just walk the carpet?
It's for fashion.
Okay, well, let's rate some outfits. So I picked ones that are like, I don't know.
Wait, but people who are listening can't see.
It's fine. They know what I'm talking about. It's fine. We also had an Instagram poll.
We'll put some of the pictures.
Yeah, we can.
On
So
the
we
video.
also had an Instagram poll though. Okay, so first one. Kim fucking Kardashian and this ghost costume that she pulled up with.
Kim looks like American Horror Story. You know American Horror Story season 11 where like the fucking monster dresses up in that costume with the mask and he starts.
I don't watch that.
I don't want to say.
But there the amount of memes that have been made from Kim, like Kim, you know those Harry Potter, the black things that fly in the air from Harry Potter, or like there's this one meme where it's like Kendall Jenner's like in this like sparkly, really pretty outfit, and then Kim K's beside her. It's like me and my anxiety at a social event, and Kim K has like her face.
Listen, she fucking does too much. Like, isn't the Met Gala supposed to inspire people with fashion? Like, who wants to wear that? That's some like dominatrix shit.
Yeah, I didn't like it. So a lot of people we put
Anyways.
like it or love it, and a lot of people put don't like it.
Yay or nay? I say nay.
Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly.
Yes.
This bitch is so hot. Like she's literally my girl crush. Is Megan
Okay,
Fox.
I don't get, like, I'm not someone who, you know, like there's people that are like obsessed with the Kardashians, like they get like obsessed, or like with certain celebrities they just like follow them, they're just like, oh my god. That's like me with Megan Fox.
Yeah, she's
and I
she
never
like
get like
fell
that.
off the face of the earth for a bit though.
Okay,
And
but
she
low-key
put her Instagram as like the native tiger, and she was trying to be like all like spiritual and shit, and then she started dating him, and now like she like reborn. But I think she looks so good. I don't like him. I think
I do like him. I think he's hot.
he gives me really bad vibes, like evil, like scary, not good vibes. I don't like him. And just but the way they were acting though, like she was calling him like her like her daddy, like on like the carpet. I was like, don't. You're like 45.
Listen, no,
like
who cares? No, I think that
No, I
Megan
know, but how
Fox.
she
No,
was
no.
saying
Okay,
it, I
wait.
was like-
I'm gonna say something controversial.
I hate that word.
Slightly. I think Megan Fox can get away with it for some reason. She just has that vibe where she's like badass. They like kiss with their tongues or some shit, which is weird, but I mean, like, they can get away with it. Then Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker come in and start doing that shit, and I'm like, cancel, stop. What, like, do you see?
But why can't they do it and then
Because
they can do it?
Kourtney Kardashian was never that vibe ever. Megan Fox
Was she though? Really?
Yes.
Only in movies they portrayed her to be like the sex like person. Like
Yeah, but Kourtney Kardashian is doing some next shit. Why she dresses like a biker now? Like Megan Fox always had that like
her outfit was
vibe.
so nice.
Anyways, that's
This guy,
who's that?
fuck, what's his
Lil
name?
Nas X?
Yeah,
No, he
I don't know
looks
what
like
the fuck
he
that
looks,
is.
he looks like a transformer.
yeah. People put don't love it.
I like him, but like
He showed up looking like a Grammy award. He does not look good. This bitch, Lily Reinhardt, is that her name?
the girl
From Riverdale. I like this. This is
Wait,
cute.
can you go back? I can't see.
She has like cute flowers on her dress.
I mean, I wouldn't wear it, but
I think it fits her vibe.
cute.
She's
yeah.
cutesy. This one I fucking hate. Who, first of all, I don't know who you are.
Okay,
Her
Fran,
dress says tax the rich.
Fred, she's a politician.
Oh.
She's a politician.
This makes
Her
so much
name's-
fucking sense.
I did a whole ass.
Is this
fucking,
the environmental girl? The one all about like the environment?
I did a whole thesis on her. I'm like, yeah, last year at U of T. She it is all for like the new Green Deal.
This makes sense,
And like
because
her
I was
name's
gonna say-
Alexandria. Or
Yeah, I know that is now. I know her face. This makes sense because like you're saying tax the rich, but you're at an event with all rich people and like you're in this like really fancy dress and you're rich. Why
Well, she's not necessarily rich. She's a politician.
But I thought she was a celebrity. That's why.
No, but like I think that's actually. I mean, like I don't know about her fucking campaign or whatever, but like I think that what she's doing is kind of like.
Well, her dress is ugly,
cool.
and no one else liked it, so no.
Okay.
Oh, Channing Tatum.
He looks pretty good.
He looks pretty good. Kind of boring though, like a little bit, but he looks
okay,
good.
I'm sorry. What do you want him to wear? What fucking Lil Nas wore?
Did you see this one?
Rihanna. Okay, ASAP Rocky looks like he's wearing my
They
fucking Nunna's
literally
quilt.
look like they came back from a sleepover and they're just still in their shit and they're like walking to another
they look
room
like- they
and
look
their
like they're
duvet
doing-
covers.
They look like they're doing the walk of shame. Like they're like covered in their like Nunna's quilts and just
they're full on having movie night at this carpet. And the funny thing is, I saw a video of ASAP Rocky taking off like his duvet like bed cover, and he was wearing like this regular ass outfit, but he was like taking it off as like there's something good underneath, and people were like, "What the fuck is that? Like you look basic." I didn't like Rihanna either. What she's wearing?
what's on her head?
She looks like a comforter. She looks like a straight bed comforter. And then this bitch, who's this? Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, she looks
she's
good.
dating Shane Tatum. You know that?
Yeah, they match. I think.
She looks good. She looks good. Anyways, I just wanted to look through these because I thought they were funny, and I saw this tweet where it's like, all of us are rating rich people's outfits, and we dress like Adam Sandler every day. Like basic ass people are like, "Oh, you look hot, you don't," and they're in like fucking thousands of dollars clothing. We're here just sitting in fucking like basic clothes. We have no right to be like judging their outfits, but
We definitely have a right. That's why they do the Met Gala. So
I don't know, but do we really? They like dress in thousands of dollars. But anyways, that was our little episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Yeah.
Let us know if you have any specific questions for Jazmine, because we want to have her on for like a second
part
time.
2.
But like we want to have specific questions from our listeners to ask her, because I think that would be a good idea. Like specific like questions about your career, or just like building your business, or like
Or even things we talked about in this episode, just
Yeah.
for her to like further explain. I think that'd be cool.
yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys next week.